legal agreement, like a legal contract, which gives you legal rights and uses legal words, legal terms. So you kind of use legal words when you address these things. It's a legal document, right? You also want to get a certificate of divorce. A covenant, right? An agreement. A feast. It could be a feast. It could be also walking together. But you could be walking. Oh, you could be walking with someone, but who are you following? Right? You could be walking next to someone, and it could look like you guys are walking together, and you could be, but who are you following? God first. But the spiritual marriage is basically just a spiritual contract, a contract made in the spirit by the spirit body, right? You have a body, an earthly body, and then you have a spiritual version of the body. And to put it in simple terms, the spirit realm, the dream world, the second heaven, the netherland, Sheol. But for right now, we'll just call it the dream world, the spirit world. So it is a contract or a covenant or an agreement made in your dreams or in the spirit realm. How can you make it? You can make it by having sex in your dreams, or eating. Someone gives you something to eat, someone gives you money, somebody gives you shoes, somebody gives you clothes in your dreams. And if God is trying to let you see the face of the person who's doing it, then you know who's trying to get you in a contract, a spiritual marriage, right? Once that happens, you're in a spiritual marriage, and you're legally binded, and they have legal rights to your money. It's just like a regular marriage, right? The joint bank accounts. They can pull the plug on you, right? If you're in the hospital, they can. They're connected to you, right? And they also think you belong to them, so they get jealous. And if you try to have a wife or a husband here on earth, you'll probably fight with them a lot. And if you sleep with them and they die, if all your boyfriends or your girlfriends die or end up in jail, then you have a spirit spouse. I don't want to confuse anybody, but a spiritual spouse could be a relative of yours in the spirit realm if they want to keep tabs on you, they want to control you, right? Because it's like before. And if you don't know, my people perish for lack of knowledge. If you don't know what they're doing, you could basically not be prospering because they want to control you for some reason, or because they sacrifice you. It could be generational. Your great uncle, grandpa could have made a deal with the enemy, covenant, that all the firstborn girls aren't getting married. They're actually getting married to Satan, or they're never going to get married, or they're married, or whatever, right? And that's the generational curse on the altar, generational altar. It could happen basically what so it could happen unknowingly in your dreams. It could happen unknowingly in your bloodline, generational altar, generational cycle. It could happen if you die before your appointed time. There's an appointed time for everyone to die. Ecclesiastes, a time to live, a time to die, a time to laugh, a time to cry, right? A time to plant, a time to harvest, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to reap. So if you die before your appointed time by God and you're not saved, you could become a spiritual wife or spiritual husband. If they try to also kill your spirit and kill you so you can become a spirit wife sleep with the spirit realm, or if you make a covenant, knowingly, unknowingly, it doesn't matter if you know you don't. But you'll know if you don't know, if you are barren, there's no growth, there's no money. All the boyfriends or girlfriends that you try to be with, or husband, wives, like they almost died when they were with you, or sleeping with you, or everyone's sleeping, or something bad happens to them, or they go broke. That means that they have a spirit. You have a spirit. Well, you both can have one actually. So let's say I could have a spirit husband, and a boyfriend of mine could have a spirit wife, and they could team up together and make an evil marriage. And come together to destroy both of you and make sure you guys don't come together. And that, oh wow, that essentially could be my dad, Big Mom, right? Coming together in the spirit realm because they married us. I know there's a spiritual incest, and because they don't want us to prosper because they get money if we stay low, if we don't. But if we come up, they lose something, right? They sacrifice something. Probably because they came out of poverty. But yeah, back to spirit wives, spirit husband. It'll affect all those. Those are all signs. And then you become an agent of Satan, a satanic agent. If you do money sacrifices, rituals, and you do like a bear, like they bury you alive, like for 3 reasons, or they say, I want you to sleep with 5 mentally ill women and bring me the colony. So when they do weird stuff like that, right? Or you get people, you know, they do a lot of weird sensual stuff because sex is the best way to tie them. Now, if you're doing all these kind of rituals for money, sacrifices, sex rituals, sex magic, and become an agent of darkness, killing darkness, satanic agent, an arrester, a robber, destiny thief, right? Those are snake and scorpion powers. You shall trample on snake and scorpion. You shall tread snake and scorpion powers. But you cannot do that unless you're a right? That means you died, or they buried you, put you in a pit, like Joseph, and you came back up. You passed the test. You didn't get it. Now you're an earth angel, and earth angels can't get married. Angels don't get married. So don't worry. You don't have to worry about that. After resurrecting, you're an earth angel. You cannot get married. Angels don't get married. Another way is abortion. A baby that is born dead, a miscarriage. Those are child sacrifices. Now you're worshiping Baal, Molech, milk. MLK, right? Those are they also work initials, but a baby could be a baby could be a business, a baby could be a dream, a baby could be a promise God gave you. So you're holding it close. Okay, I'm holding on to this promise, baby, and I'm nurturing it, and I'm gonna make sure it grows. No, don't touch my baby, right? A baby could be a marriage. If God said, I need you to pray for your husband, and you're like, do you see him? And he's like, I don't care about him. You do what I tell you, and you stop. Good. You will get in trouble for that, first of all. Second of all, now you're sacrificing babies and worshiping God, and he gets jealous. There's a lot of videos though on YouTube telling people that God will give you a new kingdom, a new kingdom spouse. It's not even what it's called. It's called God or your spouse. That's what they say. He has to die. He says, unless he dies. But God is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. We got resurrection. That's what Jesus. His specialty is to go down, because he took the keys, to go down to Sheol, down to hell, and grab someone and bring him back. That's his specialty. He isn't, that's what he did. That's why he was human, and he didn't want to, three times he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane and said, Dad, do we still have to do this? I know you said tell me plan, but did something change? Do I still have to go through this? He wasn't scared, but he had to go to hell for 3 days. And in those 3 days, the Father wasn't going to be there. He didn't want to be away from the Father. That's what it was. He was like, do I have to be away from you? He was in hell for 3 days without the Father. That's why he didn't want to do it. But he had to descend and then ascend. God will tell you what's wrong. He's not going to let you not know. He said, I don't do anything unless I tell my Father first. That's what he said. Anyways, Satan tempted Jesus at the mountain. He said, bow down and I'll give you everything. This was before Jesus was supposed to die, because he was trying to make him a spirit spouse. He was trying to catch him before he died. He knew he couldn't stop the crucifixion, but he was trying to stop the resurrection. Because if Jesus had bowed down to Satan and worshipped him, when he died, he would have never came back up. He would have never resurrected. He would have stayed in hell forever. So he was trying to trick him. He was trying to get him. He was hungry. 40 days or 40 nights, he hadn't drank, he hadn't ate. He said, turn this into bread. Trickster. He's a trickster. Try to get him. Jesus said, man shall live by the word of God. If he had gave in and gave up because he was hungry and thirsty, he would have never came back up. He would have stayed down there. And that's what a spirit spouse is. That's what a spiritual marriage is. There's no resurrection. You stay down there. A slave in hell, an angel. And now you have to call on Jesus, and Jesus will hear you, and he will send someone, and he doesn't go there himself, which he usually does. He goes there. But I'm saying he will also send someone on his behalf. He will. An earth angel. Right? So, but earth angels can't get married because they've already died and resurrected. So they can't do anything. They can't catch you in marriage. You're in one, they try to kill you in the spirit. They almost didn't make it. Put you in a pit. They try to traffic you, but you resurrected. Because that's the only way out of that. When they do graveyard rituals on you, God tells you, he'll tell you himself, you have to die. But I'm going to bring you back. The only way out of this is you having to die. I know you're in a pit, but they're going to bury you. But I'll get you. I'll bring you back. He'll let you know. And it's like, huh? It's like, what do you mean? I have to be buried. It's like, you have to come back up. This is the only way out. And so you're like, hold on, God, I'm in hell. You don't hear me screaming. It's like the same thing over and over, killing me over and over and over again. That's what hell is. That's what my hell was. They were killing me over and over and over. They wouldn't stop. And I'm like, God, you don't hear? They're killing me. Killing me, killing me, killing me. It doesn't stop. God, I know you hear me. Do you hear me? He might not say anything because he's not down there, right? But he told you before. But this is what you're going to have to go through. Like, I knew I had to go through this, but man, I didn't know they were going to kill me 24/7, 7 days a week. That's what hell is. Death. Die, and you die again, and you die again, and you die, and they just kill you, and 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 kill you. And you calling for God, and God already told you what's up. But when you come back up, you're earthly. And now they can't do it. And now they're still trying to come out. But now they're like, and you're like, oh yeah, remember me? You threw me in the pit and you buried me. Yeah, I know you. I'm alive. Alright, that's enough. 15 minutes. Well, no, actually, the mystery of marriage, spiritual marriage, goes along with the mystery of basically, the mystery of marriage is about rising from the dead, right? The mystery about rising from the dead. But there's one more, the mystery of the resurrection, I don't think I put it into it, but resurrection was a threat to the Sadducees. You gotta understand who the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin are. The Sanhedrin is a group that sit together. They're like a council, or when you go to court, they're like a jury, right? Supreme courts. But the Sadducees is an institution that they sit in. So, this is meat. This is not milk. The Sadducees is like the institution is a body, and the Sanhedrin is a group, a council of people, like I think about 70, 71 people that sit together and in one body, which is one institution, right? So Sanhedrin is inside the Sadducees, the chief priest, which is the body, the institution, the top heads with the money, right? The wealthy, they're in charge of certain things. And the Sanhedrin is a group, like a council or a jury that judge you, right? They pass laws, they know about the court words, and they judge cases, they negotiate, right? And they sit inside of that body, institution. It's a national governing council, the Sanhedrin. They make laws, they judge cases, they decide disputes, they decide national policy, they decide religious violations. They're religious. The overly religious is evil. Like, they're like, if you're not supposed to pass this line, don't color, right? You can color. The law says, Moses said you can't color outside the law, so we're just gonna make it to where you don't color. That's how they are. They build fences, right? The Sadducees are the body that they sit in. You have to understand, catch, they have eyes to hear, and eyes to see and ears to hear. Ask God to give you eyes to see and ears to hear, because this is trafficking. And the Sadducees, a body that the Sanhedrin sit in. The elites, they control like executive branch. They have the top offices. They're politically connected, in charge of the Sanhedrin, and they can actually order your arrest. They're the ones that handed Jesus over, and they are the ones that silence movements, right? That's what they do. They go by the law. They only believe in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, right? And they believe if you are obedient or disobedient, if you're obedient, you're okay. If you're disobedient, you must get punished. Blessings or curses. They have the power over money from the offerings of the church, and so meaning they have power over who gets forgiven, and they have power and authority over national worship. There's no grace. They don't have grace. Religious. You didn't pay your duty. By religious. That's not. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. That's the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin in a body, right? Coming for you because they know. That's who they are. And you might be like, why is my family hating me? One second, the other. They're sitting as a council judging you in a body. They are in power of the temple, which is also a body. And they're in control and power of like sin atonement, and they like identify the access to God according to them. They gatekeep things. Well, God, they put God in a box. God will never do this, so you can't access God because we put him in a box. They define God. They control money. And also the temple police, right? Because they can order arrests. And high priests, right? So money police and high priests, political high priests, the Sadducees. That's the body, the Sanhedrin, the council system. And resurrection threatened them. They were always following Jesus around, asking questions, trying to catch him in a word trap because they went by the law. They're trying, right? And then if the resurrection exists, then that means that they will get judged after they die. They don't believe that. They believe um, that God, there is no resurrection, and that you pay for things here now and receive things here now, and when you die, you don't have to pay for them. Wrong. They believe that sacrifices are what like gives the final say. Oh, you sin, come buy two birds, kill them, and put the money in the basket, and you're fine, you're forgiven because you paid us, right? Come back again when you sin again and pay us some more. That's what they do. They gatekeep things, but like secrets and knowledge. That's why they silence people because that's the only thing they have power over. If they lose their power, this loses the knowledge. That's why they sit. That's why it's a body that they govern, and they're so like all everywhere. Jesus preaching, they hated it, and it threatened them, and then they're the ones that handed him over to be killed. Right? Because Jesus was saying the dead will rise, God is God of the living, and I will destroy this temple, remember, and I'll rebuild it in 3 days. He said, you can't, I'll come back in 3 days. That's what Jesus was saying. He was, and Jesus also was preaching about angels, spirits, resurrection, a church that doesn't in a building, that's not in a building, a church that spreads out, but you don't have to go into that building and be all religious, right? So he was an eternal judgment. Eternal judgment. So that meant that the whole system would collapse. That's why they handed him over to be killed. Because they cannot function without an actual temple, right? An actual building where you go in with money. They cannot function without a body because they don't have bodies. They have spirits without bodies. And they body jump. That's they can't. If there's no body for them to come into, they can't function. They can't come into that body and really pass laws and be a police and do this and kick people out and do that. They can't. And the only reason they could do that is because the body of the person has spiritually died and is being trafficked and is in a box underground somewhere locked in the spirit realm, and they've been there since they were like 12. Kind of in the background, kind of, you see the person walking around, but it's not them. Their spirit is arrested and locked up, and there's something else, a bunch of something else has come into judgment. But Jesus uses more than just the 5 books or the Torah, which are the 5 books of Moses. And he didn't just like use legal terms. He had spiritual terms. That's why he spoke in parables, and the Sadducees couldn't understand what he was saying. They were like, what are you saying? And he's like, yeah, no, I'm talking about y'all. But Jesus actually defeated the Sadducees using their own law. He used their own beliefs against what they used to come against people. He used against them and defeated them. And the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Sanhedrin. And that's why that's when the power of God was revealed, because they couldn't see. They were blind because of what they were doing. They were like money. They were all about money. They were locking people up, taking over people's bodies, and still are, right? So Jesus also was saying, like, they were like very legalistic. They're like, oh, you cannot work on Saturday, right? But Jesus was like, well, if I want to heal someone, I'm going to heal on this Saturday. Listen, aren't we just happy he's healed? You can pick the grain. It's okay. You're hungry. Go ahead. Grab something to eat. You're not going to die. We ain't going to stone you. Right? He was like, it's fine. It's mercy, grace. But the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the legalists, they were like, okay, there's only 39 types of jobs and work. And they built fences around the law. Meaning, like, they did extra, like, what did I say earlier? Yeah, like, so basically, where did I put it? They were, I heard it somewhere. It was like, basically, they were like, if the law says you can't pass this line, well, we're gonna make it to where you can't walk. So you never pass the line. Or if the law says, must work, then we're only gonna make it to where there's only 39 types of jobs that you have to work. So you have to work one of these jobs we tell you to, because the law says you must work. Like that's how they did. They like messed around. They enslaved people, right? And they didn't like Jesus because Jesus called God his dad. He said, "My father." They're like, "Your father?" They didn't like that. They're like, "Oh," they thought he was blaspheming. They're like, "He called him his father." What? They were offended, right? And because Jesus was healing people without going to the priest and saying, "Can I do this first?" No, he was moving on his own account. They didn't like that either because he wasn't controlled. They couldn't control him. And also, he didn't need the church to forgive sins. He said, "You are forgiven." And people were like, "You're not asking us for permission?" Like, they were like, "Hold on, we want to control you." And Jesus restored mercy instead of control. And then predicted the destruction of the time, which means he prophesied, right? Because they believed in oral tradition, so he used it again against them and prophesied. The temple's gonna be destroyed. Like he was saying words and they came to pass. And they didn't like him. He was like, "Who is he? What authority? He calls Jesus God his dad. He doesn't ask us for permission. We can't control him. He's working on Saturday." This because the Sadducees, right? The institution of the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees were part of it. They were all about like legal and laws without life, without living, power but no humility. Like, right? They didn't have humility. They didn't know what felt like to. Like they were just always on the top, money. They didn't know. They couldn't relate to the body. They didn't care. They still charged them for sacrifices. If they were dirt poor, they still had to go buy 2 birds so their God would forgive them. If not, if you too broke, God doesn't forgive you. He's only going to forgive you if you have enough money to buy these 2 birds, kill them, and give them to God. If not, sorry, you don't like ugly. That's what they were saying. Money, they were money hungry. That's why Jesus went in and flipped the tables and was like, mad because of what they were doing. They put God in a box, right, in a building, and put limits on God. Basically made up a fake God themselves. They read the word, but they didn't get revelation. So they didn't understand the real meaning of the parables or the scriptures. But they were like, wear the scriptures on their forehead like this. And they had the longest robes, and were like, "I'm the priest." They cared about what they looked like. And they would not give authority, authority which was protected at all costs. Meaning, a cop could probably hurt you. They could take advantage of their authority and power, and they would just buy 2 birds. So that's why Jesus told not neither the scriptures nor the power of God. And then Jesus showed them the power of God. But they're the ones that came. But still, they handed him over to die. He came back. And that's what they don't like, resurrection. Even today, all churches will teach you about casting out demons and angels and family. They will not teach you about resurrection, raising the dead. They always leave that out. They'll like teach you everything else. They slip it out. They never talk about raising the dead. They don't. That's what's gonna ruin the system of the Sadducees or the spirits that jump in and traffic. Political system, the system of the beast system. Yeah, so it's like, like basically they curse people. If carrying is work, don't lift anything. If lighting a fire is work, don't touch any tools. If walking far might lead you to work on a Saturday, we're going to limit how far you walk. You can only walk 10 steps. That's witchcraft. But that's what they would do. That's not what they would build fences. And Jesus was saying that fences hurt people. Fences replace mercy, and people focus on fences, the limits instead of God. right? They focus on like what they couldn't do. Well, I can't walk. I can't even take. I take 10 steps and I always fall over. Instead of focusing on God and mercy and healing, instead of saying, I know my God will heal me, right? They were like, I'm limited, and they give in to the system. So they could eat or make money or live or get a job. There's only 39 jobs to give us, according to them. And you have to work or you're living. But there's only 39 that they made up. It's not even God made it up, like they made it up. This is the only option. They get the whatever they do, because they want to keep power. And they have kept power. These are like Egyptian